was.
And there's a lot of other, for example, the idea that we're, in terms of taxes, that they refuse to, for example, I was able to balance the budget and pass everything from the global warming bill. Anyway, I was able to cut by $1.7 billion in the first 2 years the deficit that we were accumulating. And because I was able to say to it that the 55 corporations in America that made $400 billion, that they pay zero in tax. Zero.
I'm extremely confused.
I'm f***ing confused, bro.
Me too.
All in all, it was quite a press conference, and one that will probably rattle the markets a bit.
Okay. That's one of the worst one. 400, excuse me. And he says he's talking at the deficit. Obviously, he's trying to say they lowered the deficit a little bit since he came into office.
Yeah,
but that's wild, Derek.
It's bad, but it's like we've become so used to this. I don't think that's one of his worst. Like there was,
I say top 10.
Okay, all right, yeah,
I guess in the air.
We can put it in.
Put your hands up in the air. Remember that song, or was that too white for you? Put your hands up in the air. Do you know raising the roof came from some college basketball game? The first time people raised the roof. I looked into that once. These are the type of things I look into, Eric. How did raising the roof become a thing? Some sort of college thing in the 90s.
I have no idea how you've gotten to that from this Joe Biden speech, but this is why speeches like this, and we see Kamala Harris constantly doing it as well. Maybe not quite as terribly, but it's all complete. So Kamala, I think she's just doing a sort of she's doing kind of a stream of consciousness, and it doesn't make sense. Biden is trying to gain. He's trying to finish things, but he can't retain the information for long enough to get through a sentence. Whereas Kamala, like Michael Scott once said, sometimes I start a sentence and I don't even know where I'm going with it. You know, that's what she's doing. He's trying to find threads of coherence, and he can't really do it. But this, I believe, speeches, quote unquote, speeches like this is why you can have a guy on TikTok saying that 13 million black people get shot by cops every year, is because they just say whatever they want, spew it, throw it out there. Nobody's going to check it. Anybody who dares to check it will be deemed a racist, a bigot, and they still can't grasp that it has no connection to reality at all, because for them, simply saying something is enough to make it true, right? So if you say something super mean, super bigoted, like maybe I don't want to take my kid to a drag story hour, then they're going to ask you for, why do you care? Why are you so mean? Why are you so bigoted? But as soon as they say something, you just have to wear it, because the only thing that is required for it to be true is that they said it. And that's why those things are loosely connected. Is that the Democratic Gen Z for Change guy can just make up a completely random number and end up in the hospital simply for being called out on it. The same way that Joe Biden won't. Right. It's always news. It's news when Joe Biden takes questions from a reporter, right? That's not on his note card, or that or he'll say something like, "Oh, I know I'm not supposed to do that." You know, when he goes like a tiny bit off script. And that's why, is because they just say stuff, and as long as it doesn't get like the city bike lady out in New York, right? They can take their cell phone video, call this lady a racist, say she's trying to harm these guys because the big mean New York City Police Department officers are going to show up and pop a cap in these young kids. It's all completely fake, and it won't get questioned. And when it does get questioned, it just goes away, right? So that woman who may or may not have lost her job, got suspended, whatever it was, based on a completely fake narrative. And when the narrative gets questioned, like I sent you some of those posts, you can read in the comments, they changed the goalpost. Well, it wasn't even about who bought the bike. It was about her screaming for help. Like, that's racist. It doesn't make any sense.
Joe Biden's brain is like a car is in a high-speed chase and they're going down like a one-lane road or a one-way street or a one-lane highway in a tunnel, and they're just desperately looking for exits. You know, I got to get off this highway. The helicopters are flying above me. The spotlight's on me. And every time you think there's going to be an exit, there's just nowhere to go. So Joe Biden's just talking, and he's just like 400 billion and 400 billion. I mean, and the deficit, and it's like my mind's going to lead this way, and maybe there'll be a number that pops in over here. No matter where his brain goes, it ends up being trapped, and the brain itself
Bumper
is hoping
bowling.
that something. Yeah, it's hoping that something's going to pop into its mind and help him out. And unless they can be on stage pumping him with nootropics and uppers and stuff, then it's out the window. Like I imagine during the debates, allegedly, that he must have had an IV directly up his pant leg or something like that.
So who's
But
worse? Is that worse than Fetterman? I mean, did you see the
Fetterman
Fetterman
has an
clip from
actual
the week?
medical, yeah, Fetterman has an actual medical condition for the reason why he should not be there. Joe Biden he's old, and I guess that's a medical reason too, if it's Alzheimer's or whatever it might be. But Fetterman, we knew he had, like, I guess it might be the same, Eric. It seems meaner to do to Fetterman because Biden, he had to have been at some point coherent enough to agree to this. Whereas Fetterman is just like, we need, I keep talking about it and I don't know the difference.
So and I guess the worst part is that no matter either way, right? We're constantly told, "Oh, white people are the problem. White people are racist," but not these ones. These ones are good, and it's like we're supposed to sit there and just believe it. Like, don't. Why would you even like? You say there's a bunch of headlines about the Fetterman stuff. Like Fetterman's question leaves Republicans speechless, so they frame it so it
Yeah,
seems like it's all absolutely ridiculous.
it does
And
leave you speechless, though. John Fetterman's wife is mean. Jill Biden is mean. Both of their teams are
Hillary
mean.
Clinton.
Everybody who voted for Fetterman whilst knowing what condition he was in is mean in a sense, because you're purposely putting this guy in because you hate Republicans or because you don't care. So there's a lot of, it's like when you watch Intervention or 600-Pound Life and you're just like, somebody's delivering you 16 cheeseburgers and 2 liters of pop every day, or soda. But the soda. And the person's not getting it themselves. Like, this person can't get up out of their bed. Joe Biden can't, and Fetterman can't get up out of bed without help. And you're saying, no, let's keep putting you into office. And John Fetterman shows up in a hoodie and they're like, no, you're the cool guy in the hoodie. That's why people like you, and not the, person who has a medical condition who just looks like they can't dress themselves because it'd be too difficult to tell them to get into a suit. That's what it looks like.
Turn it up, Jordan.